Hey, we are in for a great treat today. One of the things that happens, particularly as you get a little bit older, you kind of wonder what has happened to the next generation. And then all of a sudden you realize that it's the next generation ruling the world. And I'm glad that we have a little more time today because this is going to be a really interesting period of time with Aaron Nelson. I think I first met Aaron Nelson when he spoke first time to this club in 1998, I believe, in his first job as community relations director for the chancellor, who I believe was Michael Hooker. Now, we were in the restroom before the meeting, and we were there to comb our hair. I said to my friends after he spoke that day, literally, that I thought we might be listening to a future governor. He was that impressive even at that time. And occasionally our town is blessed with someone who has that kind of talent, who elects to stay here in Chapel Hill, brings to it transformational leadership to whatever he takes over. And no one ever came close to bringing that kind of vision, which he actually made happen as Aaron, since he took over the Chapel Hill-Carrboro Chamber of Commerce in 2001. Hard to imagine, only 4 years out of school. I don't want to steal his time today, except to have all of you know that the chamber here has been transformed in every possible way, including changing its name to a Chamber for a Greater Chapel Hill-Carrboro. We wanted him to come to speak today to talk to us about what I think our view is of the spectacular growth that we're seeing in our community now, with residences popping up everywhere. And in our conversation about it, he had some things that surprised me, and I bet will surprise you. He is a 1997 graduate of UNC, has a degree in philosophy, and he was, of course, the student body president elected while he was there. I think he will tell us some things about our local growth today that will surprise you. Maybe he's going to do a show of hands. I think we talked about that to see how much his reality comports with what's the truth. Aaron, thank you for coming today, and welcome to the East Chapel Hill Rotary Club.
Jim, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Pat, good to see you. I see many former chamber. I can't see all of you, but Bob Ward, Kim Grooms, Pam Herndon, Pat, others have served in leadership roles at our Chamber of Commerce. It's good to see old friends. Our Chamber of Commerce is now 78 years old, having merged, many of you all remember, the Chapel Hill Merchants Association. It was born in 1942, and we merged the organizations, and we moved from downtown to be next to the new center of town by the shiny new mall in 1979. We are going to talk a little bit about growth and development, COVID response, what the Chamber's been up to, but I want to review, at Jim's request, a bunch of new projects that are coming to town, and then answer your questions. I'm really good at the what's up with that, and what's up with this. But first, by a show of hands, and I'll come back around to give you the facts on it. Using your hands, I want you to indicate what % annual population growth Chapel Hill is having over the last decade. So what % per year do you think that we are growing? 5% per year, 4%? I see a bunch of 4s, 3, 7. All right, I'll preview it for you. It's less than 1%. And I'll share with you the census data. You're going to say that's impossible. How can that be true? There's this traffic. I see the new buildings. We can talk about that. I'll start with the traffic. The traffic is mostly people driving from Chatham County to Durham through Orange County, but we'll come back around to that. Let me share my screen with you for a presentation. Some of you are very familiar with Zoom and a presentation. There should be a little slider in the middle that you can slide left or right to see bigger pictures or not. But if I could have somebody nod to me. Can you see the whole presentation? You don't see my notes. It says 2020 State of Community.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
So some of the data I'm going to share with you comes from our friends at Carolina Demography. We partner with local governments in order to produce it. Some of you are familiar with our State of the Community report. For 10 years, we do 350 community indicators. I'm only going to cover a few of them today, but I'd be happy to come back at another time to talk about education and performance, migration, demography, growth, public health, etc. Today, the area that we serve is mostly Orange and a bit of northern Chatham County. As you guys know, there are 100 counties. I am going to give a little trivia today. You can put it in the chat, no Googling. You got to name the 4 counties named for women. There are 4 counties in North Carolina named for women, and there are 5 counties named for people of color. 4 counties named for women, 5 for people of color. Drop it in the chat if you want. I'll give you the answers at the end. Let's first talk about some local COVID economic impact. First, infection rates, y'all, are way down. We have tested now in the last, since the UNC students returned, 100,000 tests have been conducted. They are testing every student that lives locally or is on campus twice a week, all faculty and staff once a week, and the positivity rate is less than 1%, 0.5% positivity rate. We had worried, if you guys remember, on what things were like when they came back the last time. Much better planning and systems. So if you were hearing people talk about anxiety about going downtown and student infection rates, they are nearly negligible, and the rate of increase in our community is good. Vaccination, as you guys know, groups 1, 2, and 3 are available, but many counties have moved to group 4 already, and the state and our county is encouraging people to travel to other counties to get your shot. It is not there's anything wrong with driving down to Lee or Richmond or Hoke or Montgomery. All of them are now into group 4, and very soon we'll be moving to group 5. Business impact quickly. We have had, I think it's up to 50 businesses permanently close in this market. So 50 permanent closures over the last year, COVID related. However, we have had 38 now businesses start in this COVID crisis. So a lot of change is happening in our business community. In general, what we're seeing is 25% of businesses, it has never been worse. They're on the cusp of closure. It is very difficult. 25% of businesses, it has never been better. If you have a friend who's a mortgage broker, he is buying a new car. Business is excellent for some folks who in the service industry in particular, housing, finance. We are in the hottest housing market that we have ever had. Realtors, others doing well. And then 50% in the middle where things are tough and we are slogging through and we're not making much money. And we're relying on the PPP and some federal support in order to survive. But we are incredibly resilient as a community. We are late into recessions. We are first out of recessions. And we are seeing the signs of recovery, some of which I'll review for you in a minute. I want to make 2 distinctions. There's a difference between crisis response and crisis recovery. We spent a lot of time in response. How do we provide direct service and support to local businesses? I am on, this is probably my 550th Zoom call. Lots of direct service and support from our chamber to local businesses, but we're now time for recovery. Spending the real time on the long-term recovery strategy, just like after a hurricane or the Deepwater Horizon crisis that put oil on the beaches down in the Gulf Coast. It will take years of intentional, thoughtful planning for us to recover, and that effort is underway. Finally, there's 3 things businesses have been telling us that they need in this crisis, and there are 3 C's. They need capital, we need access to cash and resources, capital, customers, and clear communications. We're here in a 4th C, and that is sort of coaching and counseling, technical assistance and support as they pivot and plan for the future. I'm going to share a different screen real quick, a little bit about some resources. You should now see the Chamber's website. Bob Ward, can you nod if you see the Chamber's website? Good, okay. So our purpose right now, your Chamber of Commerce, we're about $1 million organization. There's 8 of us on staff, have about 750 businesses and nonprofits. And our purpose is to guide our businesses through this crisis, to drive progress, and to help rebuild a thriving community. We've modified our customer promise for this purpose, and we're providing direct services to keep people informed, lower the business costs, and increase community impact. One of the resources that we created was a guide to reopening. This is called reopeninghelp.com that the Chamber built, with very clear instruction, industry by industry, animal services, bars, camps, financial services. If you need resources, this was very clear on how we were going to make our way through this pandemic and emerge. One of the other quick things that we did at the beginning, and that was give people access to PPE. If you remember at the beginning, it was a little bit like trying to bake a cake, but you went to one website for flour and another website for butter and a third store to get some milk. And so we built a central location where people could find the masks, the supplies, the sanitizer, and then we invited 50 other chambers of commerce to join us and created a purchasing co-op to give small businesses access to well-priced PPE that only the big boys and girls were finding access to. Still a great site with really cool resources and pricing. In addition, there is a sort of a resource hub for businesses that are still looking for. This is a great place to find what's up with the new governor's order, what are the new rules on closing and reopening, how many people can I have in my business, et cetera, et cetera. Please count on your local chamber to give you that good information. Let me just pause on COVID and are there any quick questions on sort of the current crisis and crisis response? The town of Chapel Hill has a new economic development recovery strategy called Revive. You should get Dwight Bassett here to give you an overview, 3 pillars on a long-term recovery. The county is finalizing its community long-term recovery plan. And then I think the technical term is there's going to be a shit pile of money coming down from the federal government on what was signed yesterday. That's a chamber term. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's going to go to the state of North Carolina, where they're unsure how they're going to spend that much money, and then down to local governments. Should be new resources and new opportunities for business recovery for folks like Anzor, who are on this call running small businesses. All right, let me get back to my presentation then. So retail sales. What's going on with our local economy? Hopefully you all can see this graph. This is retail sales by fiscal year, the year ending June 1. Many people thought sales would be down in Orange County. They weren't. Even though we went into this crisis in March, April, May, June, this includes those 4 months, and still Orange County retail sales were up. Chatham County retail sales up even higher. If there is a beneficiary of a COVID economy, it is counties where people commute. So let me show you a little more detail on that. So here are the first 2 months of this year. January, Orange County sales were 3% better than last January. February, 9% better than last February. March, April, May. Now for 20 years, people have asked me, Aaron, what is the economic impact of graduation, the big graduation weekend, Mother's Day? And I always said, who knows? We've never had a year without one. I can't go find that year and tell you what the economic impact was. Well, here it is. The negative economic impact of not having graduation, having no students on campus, nobody going out on Mother's Day. May was down 20% compared to previous May. But as the year went on, we did pretty well. This is an anomaly in October because of a previous October. But in general, retail sales in Orange County were even over this crisis. So year to date, same amount of sales this year as the calendar year last year. But I told you about Chatham County, so let me show it to you. And then I'll show you their holiday shopping. This is month compared to same month previous year. Chatham County retail sales up 20%. No dip in March, no dip in April. Turns out if 80% of your population drives out every morning to go to work somewhere else, and you lock them at home for a year, they spend their money locally. Now, retailers have struggled. Restaurants have struggled, but retail sales are strong. Retail sales are paid to the county of delivery of sale. So if you're building a house and you order all those supplies, they get delivered by Lowe's or wherever to the house site, or Fitch or whoever, that will count as a sale in the county where those get delivered. And if you order it on Amazon and they bring it to your house, that counts as a sale in Orange County or Chatham or wherever you live. So they did exceptionally well in Chatham County. Took a look at another commuter county. This is Johnston County. Johnson County feeding into Raleigh. Look at those retail sales, June, July, August, September. What this means is that our community still has money. Our university is pumping in our hospital $250 million a month in payroll into this economy, whether it was opened or closed, right? If you worked for local government, you got paid whether opened or closed. Public schools, all of our major employers paid their wages, and folks didn't have much places to spend it, and they were spending it online. Talking to Gerald Vermoyne at Hendrick Auto, they have, since the recession, they had a little bit down in April, a little bit down in May, June, July, August, September, the best months in the 50-year history in car sales. Best months in 50 years, all through the end of the year. Shocking to me. You weren't driving your car, yet you wanted to go get a new one. Let's look at unemployment. I'll show you, but let me take out the state. So this is Orange, Chatham. It goes all the way back to the recession. So you see in the recession, we've peaked up. Hopefully you can see it by my mouse. Chatham County got to near 10%, but it took a decade for it to return. This one was very different. So this is April, May, but it's dropped down. This graph right here ends in September, but the numbers through January, we've had 5 months in a row of under 5% unemployment. 5 months in a row. So if this graph were to continue, it would be a straight line out for the next 4 months. Terrible unemployment, a return. Now, some of that is because people left the workforce. Some of that, particularly educated women who are in the workforce, who are at home, helping with children who are taking school online. But unemployment also exceptional. Talk a little bit about population. You all were talking about your Mandarin. I'd bone up on it. I'll tell you why. So let's take a look at Orange County's population, and then I'm going to get into some of the new projects. Orange County, if somebody asked you, currently has about 150,000 people. Chapel Hill, 65,000, 64,000. This is the end of 2019. This is the full decade. There's 10 years between 2010 and 2019. And so that growth rate I was talking to you about is the number of new humans. 6,800 new humans live in Chapel Hill than did a decade ago. And there's those growth rate. 1.2% average annual growth rate for the last decade. Orange County, 1.1%. Hill-Carrboro at just under 1%. Wow, that doesn't make sense, Aaron. Tell us more. Okay. So this is your population growth by decade. Some of you were here for these decades. This is Orange County, then the 2000s, and then the 2010s. This is the slowest growing decade by real humans in Orange County since the 1960s. By percentage, it's the lowest since the 1930s. Percentage population growth of Orange County by decade since the 1930s. Let's look at Chapel Hill specifically. The data goes back to the 70s. To be consistent, we used to not count students in Chapel Hill. Now we do count students. Students are recorded where they live on April 1. So if they lived in Carrboro, they'd be in Carrboro's numbers. If they lived in Raleigh, they'd be Raleigh's numbers. If they live in Chapel Hill on April 1. So 12% population growth, y'all. Slowest growing percent population since the 1970s in Chapel Hill, that decade. Here's Carrboro by decade. If I showed you Hillsboro's, it would look a lot the same. Chatham, different. Chatham's been through a pretty big period of growth, so it was off of peak. Their peak was the last decade. And here they are by percentage. So this is very similar to how they grew in the 1980s, about 17% population growth in Chatham County, but in real people, very similar to what we did in the 1990s. It feels different than that, doesn't it? Well, because we used to build Meadowmonts and we used to build Southern Villages, but now the buildings go up and they impact your skyline and they feel bigger. But the reality is we are growing, even at 1%, we are adding 2 green bridges a year of people. That's what 1% population growth is. 2 green bridges of people per year. Or you can have a whole lot of it in Southern Village, but because we've mostly done that development. So who is the fastest growing municipality in Orange and Chatham County? Trick question a little bit. It's Mebane. Mebane is the fastest growing municipality in these 2 counties. Let's talk regionally. So I showed you our growth at 14,000 people. There's Wake County's growth over that decade. Y'all, 63 people a day move into Wake County. An elementary school classroom of children every day move into Wake County. We add 6 people a day. Chatham County adds 5 people a day, or 3 people a day in terms of that. So just want to show it to you in terms of perspective. Talk a little bit about migration. Where are the people coming from? Here's the decade, 14,000 people. Well, it turns out if you didn't build anything, we'd still have more people because we are getting born faster than we are dying. So 4,000 of the growth that happened out of that 14,000 was natural. There's domestic migration. That's people who move here from in the United States. 5,000 more moved in than moved out. And then international migration. 5,600 more people from the world moved into Orange County than moved out of Orange County into the world. And this is principally Asia, it's principally China, and they speak Mandarin. And so your sergeant at arms was right to have you practice. A decade ago, I would have told you needed to learn Spanish if you're going to be bilingual. I'd now encourage you to learn Korean or Mandarin. In Chatham County, it's very different. They are dying faster than they are being born. And there is entirely domestic. There's no migration internationally in and out of Chatham County. We've talked about, we think that we're getting generally richer and whiter in Orange County, and that's not true. We're the least white that we have ever been. This is a white 80%, then 76, then 71, then 70. We're the more diverse county than we've ever been. And that's principally growth of Asian population. That light blue is Asian population growth by a decade for Orange County. Black population holding steady, Latino also growing. And I'm just going to quickly show you Chapel Hill, and then I'm going to move to some projects. Chapel Hill's Asian population growth is substantial.
Well, I'm on.
And somebody will mute her phone call before she says something about us. So big changes. Hill-Carrboro, y'all, is now more Asian than it is Latino. More Asian people live in Hill-Carrboro than Latino people live in Hill-Carrboro. Big changes happening. I encourage you to think about the future of your organization and your membership. How is the Rotary doing with respect to engaging our Asian population? All right, let's talk about projects. You see a lot of dirt being moved out there. There are currently 41 projects underway in Chapel Hill, and I'm going to review some of them for you. Forgive that I'm giving this to you Southern accent, Northern speed, but I'm trusting folks tracking along. So let's look at some of the projects. This Columbia Street Annex, this is across from Merritt's store, a big field of kudzu, is being proposed. Hold on, I have to change my view so I can see the details. 61,000 square feet, 52 units of residential. One of the most expensive, largest buildings under construction in North Carolina is UNC's Surgical Tower. It will take them a while to build it, almost 350,000 square feet. It'll look like this, sitting in what used to be that grassy place, or if you had cancer in the 90s, you would have known that's where you would have gotten your treatment, in that tiny little building that sat out front where radiology was. But this is going to be parked right there on Manning Drive. Tremendous investment and addition in our community. UNC is going to build a new building on campus. They decided that they don't want to train new doctors in a building built in the 1950s. It's time to update where they do their medical education. You all have been seeing this under construction at Glen Lennox. Glen Lennox, that's the Link Apartments. They are now open and taking folks. And then on the far left there, you see the Gwendolyn. The Gwendolyn is 100,000 square feet spec office building that is soon to be open as part of the redevelopment of the Glen Lennox property. This is University Place. Let's pause here for a moment and let me show you what they're thinking. So you remember down here where the Belk was, or Southern Season, depending on how long you've been in town. They are going to demolish, their proposal is to demolish this side and then to create a lot more outside space. Almost everything on the inside has been moved to the outside, if you've noticed, right? Branching out, night galleries now on the outside. The stuff on the outside of malls does really well. The stuff on the inside, not so much. And so they're going to create new outward facing and some new buildings being proposed. Here's where Chapel Hill Tire is, Harris Teeter. This is beginning to make its way through the development process, potentially a hotel, office, commercial, and then up to 300 dwelling units, potentially an apartment complex there. As you guys know, there's a big floodplain that runs across this property, and they'll need to be very careful about that as they go forward. Dunkin' Donuts. This is a good opportunity for me to tell you that drive-throughs are allowed in Chapel Hill. It is an urban legend that some of you have been promulgating to tell people that they're not allowed. They are allowed. They've always been allowed. This Dunkin' Donuts didn't get one because the owner didn't want to modify the SUP. He wanted the easiest, simple path to converting it from a gas station to the Dunkin' Donuts. So he went that way. He now is retroactively requesting his drive-through, and that is working its way through the town process.
Where's that gonna be, Aaron?
It's where the Dunkin' Donuts is now. So it's just down from us. This is Sherwin-Williams. To the left of this is the Sienna Hotel.
Gotcha.
Then Sherwin-Williams. Then this is the Dunkin' Donuts, Chamber of Commerce close by. So Chamber
Thanks.
office down this way.
Thanks.
Sure. Signature Health, which is just down the street from that, doesn't look anything like this now. That is that rehab center that's mostly underground over by Whole Foods. University Inn, which you all may remember is the Holiday Inn, will come down in the Blue Hill district and the Ephesus Fordham district, you may remember it as. And you'll notice the new style is to put the parking deck in the middle. So you'll sort of see up here that parking deck, and then this wrapped around it when that hotel comes down. Under construction right now are the Park Apartments. Some of you see these giant parking structures and you're horrified. Just remember, if you had children, what you thought when it first came out. You're like, that is not what I expected my baby to look like. Of course not. It's just been born. Give it a minute. So it's not going to look like that. It's going to get wrapped in apartments. It'll look very different. It's not going to get left like that. So please, there's lots of this resistance to what it looks like on the day it was born. Let's just remember, it's going to have maybe even some awkward teenage years. But they generally end up turning out all right. There's a new hotel, a true hotel. This is where Hong Kong Buffet was, near the Sheraton. 98-room hotel, 42,000 square feet of office, 234 dwelling units. It's the Atma Hotel Group. Y'all, Manesh Atma now owns 50%, I think. Lori's on this call, of all hotel units in Chapel Hill. Your Wegmans. Oh, I know we missed Performance Auto Mall, but the Wegmans is tonning it, y'all. And for comparison, a Wegmans sells the equivalent of 7.5 Food Lions. So you might think about what to do with empty Food Lions. What would we do? We have more grocery than any other community. There are 10 grocery store brands, 4 farmers markets. Food Lion is probably not in trouble with a Wegmans. Wegmans is more competitive with Harris Teeter. But this is right next to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, now owned by State Employees Credit Union. Easttown, this is the building that UNC Hospitals has built. They were allowed to create the first building across from the giant glass old Blue Cross Blue Shield. But then they're going to do a master plan to do a major medical campus here. There will be $1 billion of construction ultimately over a long-term master plan at Easttown. The university owns the entire inside of that semicircle, if you're familiar with that property. There's a hotel and multifamily on Irwin that has been queued up, moving through the process. Now, these aren't all done yet, right? Some of these are in process. They are proposals. On the old Breadman site downtown, they worked and they worked and they worked and they worked to get a special use permit, but they didn't get it. But they have a use by right. By right, they can build a building 20,000 square feet or less. So take a look. They're going to build 5 19,999 square foot buildings without the town's approval. By right. There's a new hotel being proposed around the old town hall. So the men's shelter, town hall, this is the corner of Rosemary and Columbia. And that is a proposed hotel that will wrap the historic town hall, old town hall, men's shelter, soup kitchen, which is moving to Hill-Carrboro. Biggest thing going on downtown is a giant new parking deck. You may remember this space as what we used to call the white deck or the ugly deck, the Belk deck that was attached. This is going to be taken down, and that's going to be 1,160 new parking spaces to support downtown parking. That's because the old deck, the Wallace deck, so people will park in the Wallace deck for a while that thing gets built. Then we're going to take this building down the Wallace and build potentially, so we'll reskin one of the least attractive buildings in town. As you guys know, when that was approved, it so offended our community. We didn't approve anything that tall for 50 years. It took 50 years to get over that. But a reskinning of the Nations Bank Plaza or CVS Plaza or NCNB Plaza, however long you've been in town, and then this building just to the left of it will be new medical, science, lab, office, tech, university spinoff, whatever will be built out there as well. I'm nearing the end. Aura is up on the corner. That's that clear-cut corner of Estes and Martin Luther King, old historic airport road. It's been big clear-cut. Just to the left of this is the airport. This is making its way through the process right now. It's mixed use, condo, townhouse, office. This was the big fight that just happened. There's an old gas station up here on the front. They just approved this self-storage and a new gas station. And then promised to not move the mobile home residents for 10 years. Chapel Hill High School got a big renovation. If you've not been by it, that's what it looks like right now. That's the backside of Chapel Hill High School that faces the stadiums. They thought they were going to be under construction while the kids went there. Well, guess what? They got to be under construction and nobody was there. We do have Carolina Donor Services moving to us from Durham. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. A putt-putt fun center. Go-karts, putt-putt, mini golf, right? We needed some fun here. And that is behind what is called Caraway Village, up Martin Luther King on the corner of Highway 40 and 86. A proposal. You remember Timberline Movie Theater? It's going to be converted to be this Timberline medical office building. Weaver's Grove, it's a habitat neighborhood, soon be under construction. That is my summary there. Let me check my time. Sweet. Time for some questions and to answer your trivia. Now, nobody typed in the chat the answers to my questions, so I will share it with you. It is Virginia Dare, Dare County. Charlotte of Mecklenburg was her name. Mary Wake. And then the word Perquimans means land of beautiful women. So that may be a stretch, but those are your 4 counties named for women. And then your 5 counties named for people of color is, as you see there, Catawba, Cherokee, Chowan, Pamlico, and Perquimans are named for the tribes that live there. For fun, there are also 10 other counties named with indigenous words. Okay, so we're not growing as fast as you thought we were. It feels that way because traffic is up, but that's commuter traffic. That's people driving from Chatham through here. Sometimes because St. Thomas More stops the traffic there every morning when the parents drop their kids off, it feels like super traffic because it backs you all the way up to Chatham County. They're going to solve that problem. The other part is it's going to be tall. We're going to have taller buildings rather than growing out like we have in the past. I saw a question. Oh, here's the chat now. Oh, some of you did. Dare, Mecklenburg, Wake, excellent. Sorry, I didn't see those. Ironically, Okay, State Employees Credit Union, the old Blue Cross Blue Shield building. What's the plan? So it's 5 floors of 70,000 square feet each with 100,000 square feet underground. They fully renovate. I mean, they renovated. They removed all the asbestos. They took it down to the studs. It's available for lease. And the university has already leased 1 floor, as I understand it, and is moving some stuff over there. But should you need new office space, it's a great place for it.
Hey, Aaron, it looks like Omar Zinn has a question.
Omar, how are you?
What's going on, my Hebrew? How you doing?
Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, man. Hey, this is a question a lot of people have asked me about, and you might have a little more insight into it. You know, in my world, everyone's always, worried about traffic and, what's going to happen. We have so many units coming along that whole corridor, the Ephesus, I don't know, they call it the Blue Hill or whatever they name they have for it. Is there a DOT plan along 15501?
Great question.
What do you think is going to happen there, and what do you know is going to happen?
Sure. So first, at the intersection of Ephesus and Fordham, you're going to get a giant roundabout, what they call a super street or synchronized street. It will be a lot like, remember across from the Sheraton, you used to be able to drive across, and now you got to go down and loop. That makes traffic dramatically better. It took it from an F level intersection to a B or a C. So they're going to do that. It's going to be a wreck for a while. They're going to fix that. Second, there's a study that runs all the way down that length of 15501 from the Big Pickle in Durham by what used to be South Square all the way to Chapel Hill, and dramatic improvements, both on the crossing of Highway 40, some widening, some turn lanes. There will be big long-term planning. But y'all, transit takes forever. They started planning the Beltline in Raleigh in 1962. So it takes for the outer Beltline, and it's 60 years later. But there are improvements there. The second, Omar, is about traffic. The people who are going to live there lived somewhere else before there. They were in the traffic mix before. They were driving here from Alamance. They were driving here from Chatham. They were driving here from other places. Job growth is not going terribly fast. So these are often people relocating closer to work. Southern Village Apartments didn't add a whole lot of traffic because half the people that live there work at UNC. They just get on the bus in the morning. So we think some of those people will go to the park. So they will be driving out of town in the morning, down 15501. But will they be driving back towards town? Maybe some, but the transit system should support them. There are several thousand units coming, but remember, we're adding 500 people a year. So even if there's several thousand units, that's 4 or 5 years of absorption. But DOT has plans. Some of the traffic will slow. I saw one. I think you'll wait 30 more seconds at this intersection and 90 more seconds of travel time. It feels like it's going to be worse, right? It feels like it's going to be worse. But it also feels like you're going to get COVID on an airplane, and it turns out you don't. The science is actually right on that, even though it feels impossible. Linda, you had a question?
Aaron, Linda has a question, yeah.
Yeah, I do, Aaron. First of all, thank you. Very informative. Can you comment on both the economic impact and the environmental impact that all of the building is having? And I've got a little bit of I'm self-motivated here because I'm just passionate about the problem that we have with litter in our community and picking up a lot of litter. And would love to see if
I have answers.
any ideas in getting the local members of the Chamber of Commerce working together to help us solve this problem, but would love to get appreciation and insight on the economic and then the environmental impact.
Yep, happy to tell. So, and I'll be brief because I see short time. So first, litter looks like hell right now because DOT ran out of money and stopped cleaning our roads. And it's all across the state and it looks like hell. And so you see more litter over the last year, not because there is more litter, but because we're not picking it up very well. Second, on the environmental, it generally gets better when they redevelop these properties. They are solving those problems with underground cisterns, runoff rules. The water in Chapel Hill is not allowed to leave your property faster than it left before you developed it, and it has to leave the property the same quality as before you developed it.
Mhm.
So oftentimes the runoff problem from what you built in the 1960s gets solved when you redevelop the property on the environmental side. Traffic, talked a little bit about, but the economic impact, you know, more shoppers and more to tax has generally gone better. Jim or Kathy or John Garner?
Let's do
Yeah.
John next. John, you have a question?
Yeah, just a short one, Aaron. There's a lot of construction going on for new office space, but yet we're also hearing, maybe the national media, that the whole idea of office space may be coming to a halt. That people may not be wanting to go into work anymore. They may want to Zoom like we're doing now and so forth.
Sure.
Has this quote disease or this phenomenon happened to Chapel Hill yet, or is it coming?
Happy to tell you. So one, we have some office, but hardly any. We didn't build new office in this town for the last 15 years. So we're way behind on new office. You're seeing some come out of the ground. Two things are happening in the office market. Thing one, they need less space because people are going to stay home. Thing two, they need twice as much space because they don't want to put 6 people per 1,000 square feet. They want to do 3 people per 1,000 square feet. They don't want to do 10 people per. So we're seeing some people need more office space because they're unwilling to work cheek and jowl as they were before.
Sure.
And so we expect office at the rate we are building it to be able to absorb it just fine. We shall see. But there's not a lot of spec office under construction, at least not more than we can anticipate. And generally, people aren't willing to risk their tens of millions of dollars if they don't think they can accommodate it. So spec is unlikely to get built.
Thanks, Aaron.
Looks like
Good to
Kathy
see you,
Thomas
John.
has a question. Kathy, are you there? I think you're muted, Kathy.
She had put in the chat the
Yes, let me
question.
unmute. I asked the question in chat too, but I realized you were going to raise hands. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Sure
and I
can, yeah.
answer
Okay,
the chat
so
question.
there are 2 questions. One has to do with tax revenue, and I was told that UNC being a institution did not pay property taxes. And so my question is, you're telling us about a lot of new things coming, but how much impact, if that's true, does UNC make on our tax base?
Happy to
And the
tell you.
second question has to do with, there's not good access to get from Chapel Hill to Carrboro. You have to cut down Weaver Dairy and across to Estes or take,
Yep.
Is there anything in the plans for that?
First on the UNC, they do not pay property tax, but they have done fiscal equity studies and it says they pay their fair share, and here's why. They don't pay property tax, but they have their own police department, they collect their own trash, they do write a check for fire service. So most of the municipal services that they would consume, that taxes would pay for, they provide themselves. So and then they give us things like all the land that our water comes from on University Lake is owned by them. The Rainbow soccer fields are owned by them. And so the fiscal equity study shows that they do pay their fair share, but no, they don't pay property tax, except in a couple unusual circumstances. Chapel Hill and Carrboro, yes, super hard. You can take Franklin, you can take the bypass, you can take Estes, or you can take Highway 40.
Right.
Those are not going to change. There will be no more east-west connectors. However, we are looking at a new bus rapid transit system that will go east-west. They are going to do a north-south one, all the way from 40 to Southern Village, running every 7 minutes, feeling more like a train than a bus, with elevated platforms, the big accordions. And now they're going to try to figure out how to do that east-west so that we can. And some of you are like, oh, a bus that doesn't help me. I don't ride the bus. I want to remind you, all those people that are on the bus, you don't have to ride it. You just want everybody else to ride it so that you can drive your car. So when that bus holds 90 people, those are just 90 cars that aren't in front of you. So we want people to get on the bus so that you can drive your car also.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron, it looks like Jim has a question.
Jim Hebner.
2 very quickies here. One, like the retail sales number that you talked about, not necessarily be beneficial locally because of online shopping. Amazon, for example, was up 37% in sales last year.
Yes, they pay us sales tax.
But I'm sorry, but that doesn't put money in the pockets of the local retailers. I think that's
Puts money in the pocket of the local government, but not in
Yeah.
the pocket of the local retailer.
yeah. And how does the Department of Transportation so run out of money that they can't clean the streets? Why is that?
Well, a host of reasons. One of them is gas tax. Guess what y'all have not been doing? Driving your car. One of the key ways that we fund transportation is a gas tax. And when you drive your electric car and you don't drive your car, or your car now gets 40 miles to the gallon rather than your last one that got 20, they've got a revenue problem.
Oh, wow.
So,
Great answer.
That's answer one. The answer two is a constitutional fail. They lost a Supreme Court case in North Carolina that took away or made them reimburse people a lot of money on land takings. And that has put them in deep trouble. I can stay forever. I know you guys like to end on time. But
Great
I-
answer.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? Anybody who has to get off, we understand. Hope you have a great weekend. But Aaron, we do have more questions. If you can stay a
I'll
few more
stay as long
minutes,
as you want.
that'd be great. I think Brian Keeliff has a question.
Hey, Brian.
Hello, Aaron. Good to see you. Great talk as always. Aaron, when we go down Elliott and we see, and then through that area, Blue Hill, how many units are apartment blocks and single units are coming in there? You say, oh, no more people in this population.
Oh,
But
no,
is-
our population will grow. It's probably in the Blue Hill district, 1,500, 2,000 to come online over a 3-year period.
That's all.
3 years.
The Berkshire is already up. The one at next to the Burger King by Mariacacas Plaza is up and full. The other one's not online yet. That'll happen this year. Later this year, the one that's behind the Chapel Hill. So maybe over the next 12, 18 months, they'll all come online and a few things will happen. I think there's going to be some lowering of price. The students have artificially filled things up when they let people off campus. Students stayed, y'all. They didn't go home. People were like, what's it like in Chapel Hill with the students home? They didn't go home. They didn't live on campus, but they stayed here. Generally stayed here. We lost 4,000 or 5,000 of them. But I think that there's just population growth right now. 70% of UNC Chapel Hill's employees do not live in Chapel Hill. 70% of them do not live in Chapel Hill or Carrboro. So they're driving here every day for work. That's your traffic problem. If we can build some housing that brings our current employees closer, several good things will happen. 1, traffic. 2, pollution. 3, civic participation. If you live in Burlington and work at UNC, you don't coach soccer here and you don't coach soccer there. You don't have time, you're commuting. So we're hoping that some of that is relocating workers. Our population will grow. However, Chapel Hill's population, I told you 60,000. 85,000 people are here every day. 60,000 people drive in every morning and 40,000 people drive out. In general, in non-COVID times, 60,000 in, 40,000 out. So we've got a 20,000 daytime bolus anyway. If we can change some of that by moving housing closer, I think it'll be to our benefit.
So you think rates are going to come down then?
I do. If I owned a rental in downtown Chapel Hill, I'd have some concern. You're used to charging $700, $800 a bedroom for your 1930s, the windows don't open, window air conditioning unit. And now they can have a doorman and a pool for the same price. So the pressure on our downtown neighborhoods, I think, will also release a little with some of the new student housing that is coming on. And my final piece is the number one way we have built affordable housing in this town is by building new student housing. If you remember the entire 54 corridor, Kingswood, Royal Park, Old Well, 100% students in 1980s and 90s. Now 0% students. It's all working class, blue collar. Students moved out. left behind apartments, those have become affordable to our working community.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Aaron, we don't want to take any more of your time. This has been extremely interesting, always informative. And thank you so much for your time. I know everybody enjoyed it. I just want to say to everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you.